Things might be cooling off, as Eric explained, but we are still getting some hot days like yesterday. And when the weather warms up, that means it's time to hit the lake. Lewis Storch joins us live with more. Lewis, good morning.
Hey, well, good morning, Jessica. And that's right, it has been an absolutely beautiful summer. And guys, you know, it's starting to get a little bit cooler. You can feel the nip in the air when you're out here. But even on those days like we had yesterday, when it's hot, it's awesome to come down here to Pactola. And even when it's cooler out, just to fish or walk around the lake, well, guys, you really can't beat it. I've spent a lot of time here at the lake this summer. The water, it's always clear. It's always refreshing. It's a beautiful lake with a very rich history.
In the late 1800s, in a little valley nestled right on the banks of Rapid Creek, stood the little mining community of Camp Crook. Now, times were hard for the miners living in Camp Crook. Gold was not easy to come by, and soon the settlers' mindset changed from let's strike it rich to let's just survive.
We have the diary of the McCurdy brothers, who talk about the fact that if they worked hard, they could buy groceries. We also have a couple mining companies that went bust. We have a lawyer by the name of J.N. McGuire who came here in 1876 and said, the way to get this thing off the ground is to get a post office. They applied. They got turned down.
Now, at this time, gold started to be discovered in other parts of the Black Hills.
A lot of the miners left for Deadwood because Deadwood Gulch and Lead is where the real big strike was.
So as miners began moving north, Camp Crook was beginning to look more like a ghost town. And if this little community wanted to continue, something had to change. For example, maybe a new name would get people's attention.
And the post office department said, well, there are 3 other Camp Crooks in Dakota Territory, and you got to come up with a new name. That's where Pactola comes from. A lot of people think it's Indian. It's Greek. It's from the river Pactolus in the province of Lydia, which is now part of the Republic of Turkey. It's known as the River of Golden Sand. And, lawyers studied the classics, and he figured that calling a place the River of Golden Sand was a way to attract customers.
The new name was better, but it still didn't work. Some gold was discovered in the community of Pactola, but it was not enough to make a living. So the community turned to farming, and it continued as a small farming community until 1953, when construction of the Pactola Dam began.
This is a very popular lake for good reason. I mean, it is a beautiful mountain lake. When my parents came out here for the first time earlier this summer, they wanted to keep coming back to this lake right here. And, you know, in the summertime, it can get pretty crowded out here with all the boats and the fishermen. And you know what? During this time, there's always people patrolling this lake from the game fish and parks. And we got a behind-the-scenes look at a day. Just take a look.
One thing that makes the Black Hills so unique is the wide variety of activities you can do in the area. And during the summer months, it's hard to beat spending a beautiful day on one of the many lakes in the Black Hills. Tubing, skiing, fishing, you can do it all. And out there patrolling right along with you are the officers from the South Dakota Game, Fish, and Parks.
You know, a lot of times when we go out, we're just kind of assessing what's going on throughout the whole lake. And most of the time, it's people out just having a good time. We want them to have a good time. We just want to ensure that everybody's safe.
Joe is a man with several different jobs, from making sure our lakes are full of fish.
People come here to catch a lot of fish and to catch big fish. And we just don't think that's possible when there's people out here poaching the resource and taking the resource from others.
He also checks boats to make sure people have the proper equipment on board with them.
So there's a pontoon boat here ahead of us, and we'll just go do a quick boating safety check on them. We'll just go up and run through the process, and I really don't anticipate any problems. State Game Warden, just going to come do a quick boating safety check, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'm Officer Keaton, this Officer Brainerd with Game, Fish, and Parks. Just going to do a quick boating safety check. If I could see a life jacket for everybody on board. I see the kids are wearing them. Yep. We really appreciate that.
Looks good. They got numerous life jackets back.
Okay. And I see your throwable device there. That's good. And a fire extinguisher.
Savvy, will you show them that?
Cool. Can you hand it to me? Thank you.
And after all safety checks are complete, it's time for a little celebration.
Another thing we do in South Dakota whenever we see kids wearing life jackets, we have these cards, and that's for a free ice cream cone at Dairy Queen. So each one of the kids gets a card, and we just really appreciate you being safe.
And so there's just a little behind the scenes look, guys. It's absolutely beautiful out here this morning. And a little bit earlier in News Center 1 today, we actually looked at the history of Pactola. It has such a rich history. Now, there is a rumor out there that you can go out into the middle of the lake and you can scuba dive down and you can actually see the buildings that were once there. This is actually, unfortunately, not true. All those buildings were actually moved to different places all around the Black Hills. But guys, it's been a lot of fun this morning. A beautiful lake. Seen a few bald eagles